there guys, Ken here, your thrifty apprentice, and today we're going to be taking a look at QOR Watercolor 12 tube introductory set. I was originally introduced to QOR via a gift art box that I received a couple of months back, in which I received a sample package that had 6 colors in it. So I did go ahead and open up that package and swatch them out, and I used it to paint this composition that went up on the channel a couple of months back. You guys can find it. I'll link it in the video description in case you want to check it out. But I decided not to review the paints at that point because I was intrigued with them enough to go ahead and order a tube set so that I could get a little experience with it before I offered the review. So that's how my experience with QOR originally started, and I was initially really impressed with the paints. So I ordered the 12 tube introductory set, which comes in a very nice travel size tin. From what I understand, originally they came in much larger tins, but recently they have reduced the tins to travel size. So the outside of the package says 12 introductory watercolors. There is a color chart swatch sample on the front and the side. The very back of the tin says QOR Modern Watercolors. QOR exclusive binder gives color greater intensity and clarity. There are 2 US warnings, which we really don't have to worry about as long as you use your paints carefully and logically, as you should. It says QOR, QORcolors.com, Golden Artist Colors Inc., New Berlin, New York. And so these are a United States watercolor paint. They are produced and made here in the USA. So QOR was an introduction in 1980, if I'm not mistaken, by Golden Artist Colors. And Golden is typically and mainly known for their acrylic paints. So they decided to jump into the watercolor game, and they released a watercolor line that had 83 colors in it, which they describe as being bright and vibrant, which in all honesty they really are. And we're going to get a minute, we're going to take a chance to look at that in just a second. QOR Watercolors claims to be traditional paints with a modern flair. However, unlike traditional watercolor paints, QOR uses an exclusive binder called Auqazol versus gum arabic, which is used in most other watercolor paints, or as far as I know, all other watercolor paints. Auqazol is said to be less yellow than gum arabic, which leads to brighter and more vibrant colors. And you're actually going to be able to see that as we look at the swatch sheet, how vibrant and how bright these colors are. So maybe the claim behind the Auqazol does stand true. So it comes in this little sleeve. And then, of course, once you open this tin, inside the tin, you will find these 12 tubes of watercolor. Of course, I've already squeezed mine down in a half pan so that they could dry out for the swatching and the sample paintings, as I typically do, because from dry down half pans is how I paint. So each tube is 5 milliliters, and they have the QOR logo on them. They'll tell you the name of the color that's inside the tube. It also has the series number, the Lightfast information, the pigment information, and of course the exclusive binder name, which is the Auqazol. And the same information from the back of the tin, letting you know that it was produced by Golden Artist Colors, New Berlin, New York, made in the USA, and then it gives the website, which, side note, the website is full of information. You guys should really go check the website out if you're interested in these paints. I think they do a really good job of giving you an exclusive look into their concept of the watercolors altogether, including their Lightfast ratings and why they use a NA as a part of it. So I took a visit to the site and I printed out the information sheet on all 83 of their colors. And that information sheet does give the color name, the color index name, which is what we know as the pigment number, the pigment name corresponding to the pigment number, Lightfast ratings, opacity, whether it granulates, and how staining each one is. And of course, those Lightfast ratings do include the NA, which is not yet tested. And again, I will stress, they really go out of their way to kind of explain why they used it and what it means. So if you're interested in these paints, I do suggest that you take a look around their website and just kind of do some research into the product that you'll be buying. I think it'll be very beneficial to anybody. So that is pretty much the tubes. Oh, let's see. These are not the kind of tops that you have to pierce. They are already opened, so that's great. The consistency of the paints coming out of the tube into the half pans was actually really smooth. It was almost like pouring paint. And mind you, other than the Viridian, I am not a huge fan of the Viridian. I'll go ahead and put that out there. It had a weird consistency coming out of the tube. It had a weird consistency once it dried down. And of all the paints, it's probably the hardest in the re-wetting process. Because for the most part, the rest of them re-wet really, really well in the experience that I've had with them. So, you know, let's move those to the side. Other than that, it's a pretty nice travel palette, pretty size and roomy. You can get you some travel brushes in there, water brushes in there, maybe even some colored pencils or some watercolor pencils or some drawing pencils once they're of a certain size. And I love the fact that the tin comes with the little divots. Great little mixing wheel. Sometimes I'll just pull the half pans out and stick them here and move that to the side, and I'll use that, especially if I'm just playing around with the primary colors in a painting. Love that about the little tin. Or if you decided to, you don't have to put paints in there at all. You could use it to store other things. Very sturdy, made of a very heavy, moderately heavy, should I say, tin. I think it has more girth to it, more sturdiness to it than most tins on the market. So we'll take a look here at the color swatches that I did from the paints. And as you guys know, I always stress that you should swatch your paints or swatch your products out on the type of papers that you use the most. So for me, that's mixed media and watercolor paper. So I swatched the paints out originally on my Arteza mixed media, and then I swatched them out a second time on 100% cotton, 140-pound watercolor paper. If I'm not mistaken, this is B paper. As you can see, the colors are really bright and vibrant. I mean, if it is truly the less yellow Auqazol that lends to this type of vibrancy, then I commend them on having that exclusive binder in their paints. The paints are so pretty. They have a very, very nice transparency in their first wash. And we'll talk about the opacity in just a second. So right off the bat, some things that I like about the paints, other than their vibrancy, is the fact that, you know, the paints will layer really, really well. And the color depth and transition of the layers is so pretty. They don't really muddy up, and they don't really get all cloudy as you layer them or as you mix them, because they mix really cleanly. And this is mainly, I believe, because of the 12 tube set, 11 of those tubes are single pigment colors. Now, if you happen to not know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the fact that they're single pigments, I mean that the minerals or the materials used to make the paints was just one pigment. So because it's not a multi-pigment, it lends to, when you mix it with another pigment, making a cleaner color, a cleaner mixture of color. So it's a good thing when you can get paints that are single pigments. And this is what I've had to learn along my journey. And that is also one of the benefits of buying more upper student grade to professional grades of paints versus buying economical or budget grades. And that's not that I'm knocking economical or budget grades at all, because you know that's sort of the thing that I go to in order to promote to you guys, to let you know that there are more affordable products out there. But that can also be said about professional products, because there are ways to source professional products at very budgeted prices. And I was really happy to get my set of QOR watercolors. I'm really happy that I ordered them. They're very, very nice. They're very, very transparent. Now, they will start to build some opacity as you layer them, depending on the color. Now, it's been my experience and what I've heard that sometimes the lighter colors tend to be more opaque than the darker colors. So you are going to get a bit of cloudiness, as you can see here from the black lines in the opacity test. Now, I did a couple of sample paintings from, if you guys remember, there was also a tutorial that went up on the channel where I did this for a card Sunday video. And I just did a watercolor painting on a 5x7 piece of 100% cotton. I believe this is Strathmore 500 series paper. I think it turned out nice. I really like the way that the card turned out. And the reason I designed it this way is because I kind of got the idea from quite a few YouTubers to just kind of put a note in there so that the person I give it to can pull that note out and re-gift the card if they want to. And I think that's a neat idea, and I'm willing to support that. Definitely willing to support that re-gifting thing. So it turned out nice. What I noticed from this painting is that the paints lifted really well. I really like the fact that I could get the different variations in the violets and the purples, and they were so clean and so crisp. It was just so pretty. I absolutely love the flow of the paints. Now, these paints have a better flow than any paint I've ever experienced or even seen. I mean, immediately in a wet on wet wash, the pigments just disperse. It's beautiful to see. I'm just in love with it, and I think they lend to really watercolory. Is that a word? Watercoloring? No, the effect is so pretty. It looks like watercolor and what my mind expects a watercolor painting to be. So you'll see here I did a little sample painting, and this was actually just a color mixing painting because I was doing some light washes of color mixing here to see what I could achieve that was not necessarily in the set, or how clean they would be once they were mixed. And I think it turned out pretty well. Now, this is, again, Arteza mixed media paper, and this kind of heavy body paper really soaks up water and paint. So I did have to put more layers on than I would in a typical painting, and it took it really well. The paints worked with me, or should I say I was able to work with the paints for them to really do their thing. This is just a basic landscape painting. So then I decided I would do a few more tests with it, and I painted some blueberries and a slice of watermelon here. And again, the paints did really well on lifting and layering. I was able to mix really cleanly to add in my shadows and my darker tones. Here again, you can see the lifting went really, really well with that. I was really, really impressed. And this again is a mixed media paper. This is Jane Davenport. So it works really well on a lot of different type of papers. Now, I did not actually test this on a cellulose watercolor paper. I did on cellulose mixed media paper, but not watercolor paper. So I can't really speak to how it performs on that. But on mixed media paper and on 100% cotton watercolor paper, they were very beautiful. And I'm pretty sure they performed just as well on cellulose. I mean, overall, these were some really nice paints. If I had to say that there were any things that I did not necessarily like about the paints, I don't necessarily care for the fact that the tubes that come in the set are only 5 milliliters in comparison to the price, although I think the price wasn't bad at all. Just at the fact that they're 5 milliliters, I think it could have been a little bit cheaper, but I'm still very happy with the paint set that I got. I promise you I have no qualms with it at all. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and talk about the price right quick. I got my paints from Jerry's, and I paid $42.83 for the 12 tube introductory set. So that's how much they are at Jerry's. They happen to be the same price at Blick if you decide to shop at Blick. On Amazon, the set is $46.07, a couple of dollars more, but still not bad considering the fact that they're a professional grade of paint. And this is just my opinion, of course. The performance of the product is worth the little few extra dollars that you would spend above maybe a budget or economy grade product. You can get them from Michaels for $89.99, and of course Michaels is always highly priced like any other art chain store like that is. But you can also typically use a coupon, which brings that price down dramatically, somewhere in the ballpark figures of the rest of the places that we named already. Michaels typically give you a 40% coupon. Of course, since COVID-19 has been going on, those coupons have been reduced to a 20% coupon on a regular basis. But I'm pretty sure at some point they will be returning to the game that they were, where they're trying to drive more business. So just keep your eyes out at Michaels for those coupons to utilize if you want to get it from Michaels. But again, I got mine from Jerry's, and I would suggest going to Jerry's a Blick. You can get them for $42.83, and that's not a bad price at all, in my opinion, for what you get. Do I recommend the paints? Hands down. Of the professional grade paints that I've used, I think they are the best. I personally haven't reviewed any other professional grade paints on this channel other than White Knights. So let's just do a really quick comparison between the two. I'll move this to the side. And here is the swatch sheet that I pulled out that I have of my 12 full pan set of White Knights. Now, of course, I know White Knights is a Russian company. It's a Russian paint made by a Russian company. And for all intents and purposes, they have been my go-to paints because they're very bright and very bright. Lord, I said it twice. Help me. Very bright and very vibrant. I'm going to get it right in a second, guys. And I was actually really impressed with them. But in my honest opinion, QOR has them beat. QOR definitely has them beat in the dry phase, because there's not as huge of a color shift in QOR between wet and dry as there is in White Knights between wet and dry, in my opinion. As you can see, some of the vibrancy has dulled down over the time that I've had this swatch sheet, and it's really only been a couple of months. For the most part, the colors are pretty comparable in a lot of aspects. I like the greens offered in the White Knight set a lot more than I like the Viridian offered in the QOR set. Other than that, the burnt sienna in the QOR set has a little bit more of a red tone to me than the burnt umber. I'm not really crazy about the yellow ochre natural in comparison to just the regular yellow ochre that you get in the White Knights. But if I had to choose between the sets overall performance, I would go with the QOR. Although White Knights is definitely not a bad brand of professional paints at all, and they are on the more affordable side at regular price all times. You don't really have to necessarily wait on a sale to get them. So guys, I think that's pretty much all I have and all I wanted to say about the paints. You know, again, I recommend them. I suggest that, you know, you take your time and go to the website once again. Really think about the pricing. Really think about what you're getting. Really consider some of the things that I've said in this video as you take away from it, and making your decision on whether or not you're going to add these paints to your art supply collection. All right, if you like any of the information that you heard, or you think that it's going to help you make the decision, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you can keep up with the other great content, hopefully, that'll be coming up. Don't forget to hit the comment section up. You guys know I love to speak with you. Let me know what you think about this review. Let me know whether you're intrigued and you may want to try the QOR watercolors, or if you already have them and what your experience with them has been. Don't forget to share the video, because sharing is caring, and it helps to grow the channel and our art community. Head on over to the Thrifty Apprentice Facebook page and like us there. And as I tell you always, just keep painting.